We're reading a special story by Patricia Polacco called The Blessing Cup. This is a true story about Patricia's great-grandmother and her family who lived in Russia. And it's a story about a very special tea set, and especially it's a story about family and about love. So let's start. When my great-grandmother Anna was a little girl, long before she came to America, she lived in a small shtetl, which is a village, with her mother, Papa, and baby sister Magda, near Tver in Russia. Life was made harder yet whenever the Tsar's soldiers came. The Tsar was the leader of Russia. "Why do they do this to us, Mama?" Anna cried to her mother. As her mother rocked Anna and Magda in her arms, she whispered, "I don't know, my child, I don't know." When it was safe, Anna's mother took them into the kitchen, and soon Anna's papa came home. When they all sat down, Anna's mother placed 2 candlesticks on the table. She climbed up on the warming stove and pulled down something that was lovingly covered with an embroidered cloth. Underneath was a magnificent china tea set. It was Friday, and the sun had set. Anna's mother lit the candles and whispered prayers that began Shabbat. "Tell us again, Mama, tell us about the tea set," Anna teased. "Well," her mother began, "it was many years ago, just after your papa and I were married. A horse-drawn cart came to our village all the way from Tver. On it was the biggest wooden crate I had ever seen. Everyone in Roinovka gathered around to see what was in it. That is when I discovered the crate was for me," she explained with a grand gesture. "And when I unpacked it, everyone in the village stepped back. It took their breath away. It was this beautiful china tea set that you see before you now." "But Mama, the note. Tell us about the note again," Anna insisted. "Ah, inside of this pot was a note. It was from my Aunt Rebecca in Minsk. It read, 'Rachel, this is for you to celebrate your marriage. This tea set is magic. Anyone who drinks from it has a blessing from God. They will never know a day of hunger. Their lives will always have flavor. They will know love and joy. And they will never be poor.'" Here you see them drinking from the cups. Winter was coming to an end in Roinovka. The first signs of spring were peeking through the last thin blankets of snow, but it was still cold, so Anna's family slept all together in the warming bed on top of the brick oven in the kitchen. As Anna drifted off to sleep, she watched the flickering light on the oven make patterns on the tea set. It was as if they were dancing just for her. Suddenly, In the middle of the night, Anna was startled awake to terrible sounds. "What's happening, Mama?" Anna screamed. Her mother bundled Anna and Magda into the goat house, where they hid, while Anna's papa ran to the synagogue. When her papa got there, it was too late. The synagogue was in flames. Rabbi Weissmantel shook a paper in Anna's papa's face. "The Tsar has ordered all Jews to leave Russia, all of us," he sobbed. "This is happening everywhere in Russia," the commandant of the soldiers called out. Anna's papa rushed back to his home to tell his family. "Oi, what will they do?" For the next days, everyone had to sell or give away their meager belongings. They were ordered to pack what they could drag in carts or carry and leave. "Where will we go, Mama?" Anna asked. "Your papa has a cousin in faraway land called America. Perhaps we can go there," her mother whispered. "How far away is it?" Anna asked. "Across a vast sea. So you must help me now and be brave." "I don't want to leave," Anna cried softly. "None of us do," her mother whispered as she packed. "Why don't they want us here?" Anna finally asked. "Because we are different from them. They are afraid of what they don't understand," Anna's mother said, wrapping the beautiful tea set in soft clothing. "It will bring God's blessings with us on our journey," her mother whispered. Anna's papa loaded his sewing machine, their menorah, the shofar, his talit, prayer shawl, and his holy books. "This is the last of what we are able to take with us." He placed Anna and her sister in the cart, and he and their mother slowly pulled the cart away. Anna looked back at her village as long as she could see it. Only when it disappeared from her sight did she look ahead and wonder what her new life in America would be like. That first night they stayed in a cold barn with other refugees fleeing the pogroms. Anna's mother went to the well and drew water in the china teapot and said, "May God's blessings be upon us." Then she broke bread and sprinkled salt upon it and whispered, "Bread, so that we shall never know hunger in our new life, and salt, so that our lives will always have flavor. We shall always know love, and as long as we are together, we shall never be poor." Then she passed the cup to each of them. They drank the water, ate their salted bread and raisins, and then hugged close and went to sleep. As the time went on, the journey was very hard. On some nights they were welcomed to sleep in barns. On other nights they were chased away. Most nights Anna's papa slept on the ground while his family slept in the cart. The open ground was damp and he shivered with the cold. As the months passed, Magda was no longer a baby in her mother's arms. Anna's papa did odd jobs to get enough money as they continued their flight from Russia. It was a hard fall, and as they approached yet another new town, it was getting harder for Anna's papa to pull the cart. Then, on the outskirts, he couldn't take another step. He collapsed. Anna's mother ran to find a doctor. When the doctor arrived, he listened to Papa's chest. "Your husband is very ill. He needs medicine, good food, rest, warmth, and care." Anna's mother looked distressed. "You can stay with me. I live quite alone now. I'll make your husband well," the doctor said as he brought them into his home. What a kind doctor. Anna, Magda, and their mother looked around the doctor's fine house. "Look at these rugs," Anna's mother said as they all leaned over and felt one of them. "My late wife collected fine Persian rugs. There's a rich merchant just down the street who has offered me a fortune for that one," the doctor chirped with a broad smile. After he put Anna's papa to bed, he came into the kitchen. "Can you cook, woman? That is the question," he boomed. Anna's mother smiled back and bowed. "Such food I'll make for you, doctor," Anna's mother announced, opening cupboards and seeing what there was in the house to prepare to eat. "Then welcome, my dears," the doctor said softly. Here's the doctor and Anna's papa in bed. Yevgeny Vladimirovich Pushkin was true to his word. With his constant care, Anna's papa soon recovered. The doctor saw to it that Anna and her sister were given proper food and fresh milk every day. It was he who noticed that Anna could not see well, so he fitted her with a pair of spectacles. He took great delight in the good food that Anna's mother prepared. He grew very fond of the two children, and the whole family called him Uncle Genya. Later, there was a pounding on the door. Anna's mother knew right away from the look on Uncle Genya's face what the visit was about. "They have told you that you cannot house Jews, haven't they?" she asked. Dr. Pushkin nodded, yes. "Then we shall have to leave," Anna's mother said sadly. "My dear, your husband cannot survive pulling that cart and sleeping in the open air. He is gravely weakened from the pneumonia." He put on his coat and went out the front door. When Uncle Genya came back, he asked them into the parlor. He pulled a packet of papers from his pocket. "I have gotten you all traveling papers so that you can cross borders safely. I also bought these tickets for the train that will take you to Verdansk. There, I have arranged passage for all of you on a ship that will take you to America." Anna's papa fell to his knees. His tears filled his eyes. "How, Genya, how could you possibly have done this? It had to cost you a small fortune," he cried. "Only that rug you are kneeling on owed it," Genya said with a broad smile. "But how can we ever repay you?" asked Anna's mother. There they are on the rug. And here's the doctor with the papers. That evening, Anna's mother unpacked the tea set and brewed rich black chai tea. It brings God's blessings, and our desire is that a blessing will forever be on you in this house. Then she taught Uncle Genya the ritual of the bread, salt, love, and being richer than a king. They all rose very early the next morning. Dr. Pushkin drove them to the train himself in his carriage. When he arrived back home again, he was astonished by what he saw on the sideboard in his dining room. It was the exquisite tea set, and next to it was a note. Anna's mother had written, "Always remember, dear friend, you are the bread that fed us. You are the salt that flavored our lives. You are the love and joy that held us together. Your golden, kind heart makes you rich indeed. You shall never be poor. I am leaving our precious tea set in your good keeping. We kept one cup so that we still have its blessing among the four of us. It is all that we will need." There they are drinking tea together from the tea set. And so it was. Anna and her family traveled across the sea to America. Anna and her family all stood together at the rail and looked up at the Statue of Liberty. "Papa, are the Tsar's soldiers here too?" Anna asked as she took his hand. "No, my dearest, not here. They can't reach us here," he whispered as he squeezed her hand. They lived for a time in Manhattan on 10th Street. Anna's papa worked in a tailor shop just down the block from their three-room walk-up. Every night, Anna's mother got out the one remaining cup and shared tea from it with her family. As they drank, they remembered the bread, salt, love, and richness of being together. They also vowed that they would never forget Uncle Genya. Eventually, Anna's mother and papa moved the family from New York to Union City, Michigan. On every family occasion and holiday, they drank from the cup and recited its blessings. Anna's parents lived out their days on that little farm, and shortly after her papa's death, Anna received the cup from her mother. Anna shared the cup and its blessings with her husband and children all the rest of her life. Shortly before her death, she gave the cup to her daughter, Carly. My grandmother, Carly, and her family named that cup the Blessing Cup and shared its blessings. In 1938, Carly gave the Blessing Cup to my mother, Mary, on her wedding day. And in 1962, my mother gave the Blessing Cup to me on my wedding day. I kept the blessing cup in an honored place in my home. I drank from it with my own 2 children while teaching them the blessings that it carried. I stored the cup on the top shelf in my china cabinet. I did at times wish that I could have more than 1 cup so that both of my children could take a piece of our history with them when they married. On October the 17th, 1989, at 5:04 in the afternoon, my home was rocked by one of the strongest earthquakes that the San Francisco Bay Area has experienced since the Great Quake in 1906. When I knew that everyone I loved was safe, I walked into the dining room and, to my horror, saw my china cabinet overturned. Everything in it had been shattered. I caught my breath. Oh God, the blessing cup, I sighed. When I looked down, there it was on the floor, in the midst of all the shards of broken glass and china. It had broken exactly in 2, as if by design, by an unseen force. I thought of my 2 children and smiled. I picked up the 2 pieces and held them close to my heart. At that moment, I realized more than any other time that my ancestors were my bread, that the salt and flavor of my life were their stories, that their stories were kept by them so that I would know that I was loved generations before I was born. How rich I am indeed. And may you too always be rich and enjoy the bread and salt and flavor of life, and know that you are rich always because you are loved every day.